What I do want to do is, because I've been involved in data management for about 25 years now in a variety of guises. Most of that has been inside businesses, managing data teams, managing problems with data, latterly as a consultant, and increasingly getting to being a bit more of a data evangelist, getting out and actually trying to explain to people about why data is important, why it's really essential to businesses to actually start managing this asset, manage this thing correctly, because it actually starts to deliver some benefits for you. What I'm going to do today is really, I'm just going to touch on one particular area, and that's Tim mentioned this morning about ISO 8000. So what I wanted to do is talk about ISO 8000 Part 150. So some of the different parts of the standard are quite detailed. They're about product data exchange, quite low level in some ways. Whereas Part 150 is quite useful because it is about data quality management. And it's all built around a 9-box model that you've got on screen here. It's got 3 horizontal roles, it's got 3 vertical process areas, and then the 9 boxes themselves. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through each one fairly quickly and then end up with some additions to that to help give you a bit more of a framework for data governance and some thoughts about implementation. So the way the standard is structured, the way that 9-box model works is you've got the data operations column, the main process, which is all the things that you do about changing data. The data quality monitoring is about trying to understand what's the quality of that, and the data quality improvement leg is for us to do something about if things aren't quite right or aren't where we need them to be. The 3 roles as defined in the standard of data manager, data administrator and data technician are probably a bit simplistic for most organisations. I don't think the roles are quite that, quite that level of granularity. But actually, if you think about those levels as the strategic, the tactical and the operational things that you do, that probably gets you in the right frame of mind for it. So what I'm going to do now is going to go through these 9 boxes, just to give you a few thoughts about what they actually do and represent. Following on, it's quite interesting. This morning, John was talking about the one of reuse, and he got that slide, that graphic there, which I've reused for this story. But data architecture management, knowing where your data stores are, knowing how they relate to each other. What's your approach to master data management? How are you actually going to make sure you've got a single source of truth? How do all your data sets fit together? That then leads into thinking about your data design. What data do you need? What attributes? If you've got an attribute, so getting into an asset-based world, if you have an attribute of length, what do you mean? Are you measuring in millimetres, metres, feet, inches? And Tim illustrated the problem about units earlier. But also, what data are you talking about? If you're talking about length of a table, is that length, or is that the length, or is some other dimension of length? So you need to be quite clear about what your design is. You also need to make sure that your business users, they also understand it. You need to find a way of publishing the data design to people so they can make use of it. Data processing. This is a really useful step, really important step to think about, and that is actually looking at what's the quality of your incoming data. Monitoring the data changes as they happen. Are they meeting your data quality rules? This is a leading indicator of data quality problems. So if you're going to tackle problems at source, it avoids the problem in the future. You're going to do lots of data profiling, lots of data cleansing, you're going to fix stuff that may have happened many years in the past. So it is important to think about that and try and actually get some measurement done at point of data entry. It's a bit more than just putting in extra strong field validation, because there may be all sorts of reasons why the data isn't quite what you need it to be. So then think about the middle leg. The top box there is actually really quite a useful one to think about, and that's about data quality planning. It's about, for the organisation, have you actually taken the time to think through what is your plan for data quality? So it isn't necessarily everybody assuming that the company wants 100% quality on everything. This is potentially identifying, we know where we are, we know the data isn't quite as good as it needs to be. These are the areas we're targeting over the next 6 months. These are the resources we're going to put in to address that. So it starts to give a context that people can work to in terms of whether data is something that actually wants to improve or not, or whether it's something they can leave as it is. Nicola mentioned this morning about the work that was done with Dharma about data quality dimensions. So the diagram there is actually taken from the white paper that is on the Dharma website, and that's looking at the dimensions of data quality. So it's a bit like weather. If somebody says the weather's bad, so it means too hot, too cold, etc. For different people, bad weather means different things. So similarly in the data context, validity, accuracy, consistency, uniqueness are all really important things. A number of those things can be measured and assessed by data profiling tools, things of that nature. Arguably the most important one, accuracy. You need to get some surrogate for the real thing or the real asset to be able to check that does your data represent what it is. If you're in the asset world, you're sending somebody out a clipboard to look at the physical if you're in banking, to ring up a customer to say, we think we've got this data about you, is that correct? Might not do your credibility much good. And in days of social media, as Nigel was just saying there, people might very quickly pick up on that and you might not get the publicity you want. Data quality measurements. So first off, you've got the criteria set up, which are based on your data design, and then this is the actual activity of actually using the criteria to assess what is the quality of your data. So it may be something that you're doing on a regular monthly basis, it may be something that you're building into validation on software people are using, or it may be something that's been done on an ad hoc basis prior to data migration or some other particular activity. It's just the activity about how you actually understand what the data quality is. Now the box on those 9 boxes that I think for me doesn't quite work is this one, the data stewardship flow management box, because I think actually it covers 2 concepts. And for me the flow management, the data lineage we talked about earlier, probably better fits around data architecture, but the stewardship around who can do what with the data is an important thing to actually make sure you've got some definitions of and an understanding of. We also touched on data error causes analysis, so that's a key area to start thinking about of if you've identified a data problem, what are you going to do about it? What's the root cause of that? If you don't fix the root cause, your data quality problems are going to come back time and time again. So Nigel mentioned the case of using cutting the lawn as an analogy for data cleansing. You're going to be doing your data cleansing again and again. One of the areas where you need to be a little bit careful and a bit subtle about how you apply this is that if you try to work out the root cause of every single data quality problem you found, your organisation will stop. What you probably need to do is you need to focus on the low frequency, high consequence errors and the high frequency, low consequence errors that in aggregate actually have quite a big impact on the business. So if you talk in that diagram and say, choose the end, and say, this is where we're going to start looking at what the root causes of my data quality errors are, then that's probably the time where you actually get some productive outputs from that. And then the final box is then looking at data error correction. So it may well be you decided that there's some data errors that you've identified that you don't actually want to fix because they don't conform to what's in the data quality plan. But if you are deciding you're going to fix the data errors, then you start thinking about how are you going to fix them. Is it going to be going out and doing an immediate survey of different data to actually correct the data immediately? Is it potentially saying that the next time we intervene or next time we have an activity that involves that person or that entity, we're going to update and refresh the data? Or is it something where you're saying, yeah, just leave it be and we'll fix it as and when we get around to it? So those are some of the 9 boxes that I've very quickly counted through. One of the interesting things is that there are actually quite a few relationships between those. So for example, data architecture feeds into the data design. The data design, if you're doing the data design work correctly, that is a brilliant feed-in for developing your data quality criteria. So the 2 almost need to be done hand in hand. If you've got your quality criteria, that is then giving you what you need to measure. So rather than somebody looking at something and saying, that doesn't look right, that's not really a very good data quality criteria. It's actually starting to give a framework that people can work to understand where is the data that's wrong. So all those things fit together. But one of the things that we do, and that we've worked with a number of organisations looking at, saying, well, actually, take that as a model, it's quite good for data quality management. But actually, if you add some other factors to that, it starts to give you that framework for data governance. And so the areas that you need to think about adding to that, which have also been touched on by some of the comments from people this morning, was things like culture, the organisation, escalation processes, and change management, change control. So in terms of the organisation, do people understand the role they have with the data? Do the different groups who are involved in looking at data problems and system and process problems, they all know each other's existence and have a clear understanding of how they feed into each other? One organisation worked with how the group of super users at one level, dealing with lots of data quality problems, unaware of the fact there was middle managers and senior managers elsewhere, 2 separate groups who didn't know each other's existence, who were talking about the same things. They weren't aware of each other's existence, so it's about putting a bit of structure in there so people know what's going on. If you have a problem, and it's one that isn't one that somebody can deal with within their own remit, or that they can't tolerate themselves, they may say, this issue is one that I can't tolerate this risk, but somebody needs to do something about it, I haven't got the budgetary authority to address it. That's where you need some kind of escalation process, which also feeds into that view of the organisation. So if you can't address it locally, you need to escalate up to the next level, and they can then either agree to do something about the problem, agree to tolerate the problem because it's not of sufficient criticality, or they also escalate up to the level where it gets sorted out in the organisation. Change, no organisation is static. So when somebody's got a bright idea, it wouldn't be a good idea if that you need to have some way, from a data perspective, of trying to tap into that to understand what the data implications are. So you try and get away from people seeing a field and reusing for something else. There's one organisation I'm working with at the moment who have an interesting approach in one area where they have a text field and we're looking at mapping data into what they want. And so what we do is taking 4 data attributes, encapsulating them into a text string to put into that field, because that's what they want. Not necessarily good, but that was their approach to change management, was always just keep using this text field and keep adding bits to it. So if there are areas where there needs to be change, you need to understand how that change is going to be impacted. If particularly there's new applications, new systems, if somebody's got an idea, let's send this app out onto social media, you need to know what you're going to do with the data and how that fits in, and how it fits into the overall framework. And finally, then, is thinking about culture. So the characters you see there, one of the presentations I do on a regular basis about the data zoo, are the different behaviours people exhibit towards data. So those are some of the characters that come from there, all the way on the data evangelist, the bottom left, which is type 1. One of the key things, one of the interesting things about the data behaviours is that they are behaviours, they're not personality traits. They're very much driven by the organisational context somebody is in. So people will tend to adopt behaviours of people around them. If senior managers have a certain view about data or anything, then that will tend to feed into the behaviours of the rest of the organisation. And so you need to have some awareness of that to then, before you start thinking about how you can change approaches to data. So what I've done is I've gone through and done a quick whistle-stop tour of the 9-box model of ISO 8000-150. Talked about some of the add-ons, but now let's start thinking about, well, actually, if you're thinking about implementing this in an organisation, what are some of the things that you need to think about? First one is, and this also picks up on something else, comments from elsewhere, is that good data management has almost nothing to do with software. Data itself is a very amorphous beast. It is, when we're talking about data as an asset, the way I tend to liken it, it's a bit like a sandcastle. The individual grains of sand, the individual bits of data are pretty indestructible, but that fragile assembly that is your sandcastle, the information has value to you. There's a lot of things that are going to start and so you have to be looking after it a lot of the time. And that's nothing to do with software. The software couldn't care less. So you've got a database, it's got data in there, as long as it's valid, it doesn't matter if it's accurate or not, it doesn't matter if it's usable to business or not, the software is okay. So from a data management perspective, you need to divorce it from the software. I think it's important to start small and evolve, have an evolutionary approach. You can spend a lot of time coming up with a grand plan for how you're going to start implementing data governance across the organisation. That takes a lot of time to develop, a lot of time then to sell it to the organisation, particularly if that's a big change. Because if you're starting small, you start to evolve, you start to adapt to what people are doing, it makes it much easier to start to get some early benefits. And that actually is a key thing, and it picks up on John's comments earlier about how do you make sure you deliver benefits and demonstrate benefits to people. You try and pick some quick wins. So the policies you identified earlier, which have got no policy holders, very quick win there. So if you can start identifying some of those, you start to get some benefits that people can see. Another interesting thing, I think that the more times I've been looking at this in different organisations, is that it's very key that you could try and build into existing processes. So if there's already a process governance group looking at how a particular process is running, it is far easier to get data added to the agenda of that existing group than it is to set up a whole new set of groups, a set of meetings to talk about data. If you do the latter approach, people say, well, I've got another meeting to fit into my monthly schedule, why do I need to go and do that, etc., etc. And yet there is a relationship between data, software and process. We do feed off each other. So it makes more sense to talk about them in the same place. So by looking at how you change the agendas and the terms of reference of some existing groups, you can actually start to implement data governance, start to get some considerations without it being perceived as a huge change. There's also a case that if you're getting better at data quality management and thinking about how your data is managed, it also feeds into a lot of other things. So if you've got what I term a compliant culture, if you've got people who are doing the right things, chances are you've probably also got a better approach to health and safety management. You've probably got a better approach to product and service quality. You're probably avoiding compliance risks, and all these things work together. So if you turn on its head and you have a culture of non-compliance, chances are the people who are not providing the data you need as part of the core process are probably also the ones who might not be filling the expenses form in right, who might not be following the permit to work system before they go out and intervene on site. So there are lots of things that work together and these all reinforce each other. So by encouraging better approaches to health and safety, better approaches to data, they actually work together. Better data helps better decision making, which makes a better safety approach. Governance is business as usual, it's not a project. You might be implementing the project, but actually it needs to be thought of. This runs in, it should be part and parcel of what the organisation does day in, day out. Not day in, day out, but it is a continuous activity and it needs to be there. It's not a single initiative that will stop at some point, it continues as part of the life. It'll involve the whole organisation, whether they know it or not, and will be involved in some way, shape or form. In this day and age, there are few people who work without having some data that comes out of what they do, so therefore everybody's involved to some degree. And finally, I mentioned about culture and about behaviours. It's really important to try and recognise what the culture of the organisation is, to then allow you to start thinking about, okay, how can we build on the good things and start moving away from some of the bad behaviours that might be exhibited in certain areas of the organisation, all in order to help deliver a better approach to data quality management. Okay, so what I've done is I've done a very quick whistle-stop tour there. Any questions? Any thoughts about whether, as a framework, so there were comments earlier about frameworks of this. I'm not saying it's the answer to everything, but is that something that might help people in terms of helping understand the different bits together when thinking about data quality management? Sorry, question back there.
Yeah, the slide about the data DG dimensions. Is there a connection between the standard and those particular dimensions, or is the standard a meta standard that doesn't define?
There is. I think, is it part 8, Tim, that does dimension? There is a part of ISO 8000 that does it, but it talks about them in quite esoteric terms, which are quite difficult to follow. And so, whilst I have problems with some areas of the ISO 8000 standards where they're written in the kind of language that academics will understand and know the depth of meaning, but they're not necessarily fit for then talking to typical business users for them to understand it. And so there's a bit of a balance, a bit of a trade-off there, I think. So whatever dimensions are relevant to your organisation, you need to find out ways of how do you express that in a way that means something to be workable. If you're thinking about syntactic issues, that gets into validity, you might have the basis, the ISO 8000 standard behind it as a bit of a basis for that, but the way you need to talk to people is, if this data isn't in this format, then this following process can't use it that way. Does that kind of make sense?
So other dimension systems are potentially possible within the standard system?
There are a number of different approaches to data quality dimensions, and different authors have written that. So that white paper was Dharma's attempt to try and pull some things together, but I don't think there's a consensus across the industry yet on that. I think it is more important, picking up the context or questions earlier about talking the language that people recognise within their organisation. It's about trying to tune them. As long as you have some criteria of what you need to measure, how you label them, how you badge them in the organisation, that's part of your skill as a data governance expert, how you actually try to implement it. Whilst we're talking about standards, Tim mentioned earlier, and he briefly mentioned about ISO 38500, which is the standard for IT governance. Within the last week or so, actually, Ian at the back there passed a list of some of the working the changes gone there. Apparently, there's a two-part standard. ISO 38505 is being developed, which is about data governance. It's being written by the people who've been talking about IT governance. Now, I've already set Tim off on the task, so you find out what's going on there. But I'm interested if anyone in the room has either been aware of and involved in some of that work developing 38505. Interesting. You would hope that they might. Sorry, Lee.
No, I haven't. I was just going to say we got a bit of a governance issue, but I won't. It's a cheap. Sorry.
I can tell you from a South African perspective, the South African Bureau of Standards is working on the ISO 8000 stuff. Before I left there, I was involved in that, and they actually have referred to the IT governance one. They don't know what to do about it, but they are aware it's there, and they're aware that there should be some.
because one of the concerns I have is that if you have two standards that are conflicting with each other, there's some people are looking for a reason not to try and improve things. They say, well, if the experts can't agree, why should we bother? So I think it is important that wherever it ends up, I'm not particularly bothered, but actually if there's a consistent message and consistent signposting, that's the important thing.
If I can make a comment about that, you know, as the Demo President, I do get to travel around all over the place, and one of the things that I've seen happening in the last 4 to 5 years is a consistent move towards some of those, the language that you've put up there. Almost all today, if you go back and you do a real data geeky thing and you kind of map to map, I'm pretty sure that you'll find that every message that we've had today covers those kind of things. Talking about the same thing about culture, we're talking about the fact that it's not about the software, it's about people. There's a lot about people. There's a lot about this is not a project, it's a program, and it's an organizational-wide thing. So the industry is beginning to speak the same language, and that is good. That is good. So your next step, as you said, is all these frameworks have to start to line.
Correct, yeah. But as ISO standards have a kind of their own kind of life cycle and time scales, which are probably more geological than anything else.
I can tell you from Timbuktu perspective that we definitely mention ISO once or twice. You know.
That's good. That's good. Any more questions? Probably time for one more question. I think.
I'm not sure it's one specifically for you. It's just, I think you've been talking. I'm surprised kind of with the lack of emphasis on data modelling, if you like, like people and in on the terms of records when they're discussing these things. I mean, me, I'm a data person, so it seems like something in my work. But when you mention that, I'm just wondering.
I think it was kind of implicit in the first couple of boxes I mentioned about the data architecture management and the data design, is that modelling will need to be part of that work to understand what data you need. Then you need to have a way of recording that, and then expressing it to the business in a way that they understand it, and then start to use it in other ways. So yes, modelling is part of it, but it's not the be-all and end-all. It's just one of a number of string of things, or a number of collective things that need to work together to help you manage your data quality, or at least do that at the start. Okay, thank you all.